Let me tell you the first time I felt invisible.
At what age did you start to feel invisible? Kind of happens, doesn't it? For me, it was when I kind of reached peak perimenopause.
Things I wish I knew before becoming a... You gotta keep this lifestyle on the down low, down low.
Many older women are now trying to date younger, the same thing they shamed older men for.
Somebody out there, some girl out there is feeling very invisible right now, like you are doing the things that you're...
So I saw a TikTok the other day from a woman who had just hit her 40s and she feels like she has become invisible since doing that.
I divorced my high school sweetheart after 5 years of marriage and 4 babies.
Just like this woman, many destroy their marriages just to go struggle in the dating world. Kindly subscribe to the channel as it further supports us in our work. Thank you.
You guys, I have not been really dating in a while, and I'm 32, and I just dated this guy who was in his mid-20s, and I was not prepared for the ghosting and like the drama that came along with it. I'm shocked, but like I'm laughing at it because it's like, of course this was coming. Like, of course, like that's just where this person was at. Don't date younger.
And can I just add something that has been on my mind a lot lately? And that's, we have this saying in society that after a woman not hurts a certain age, actually it does hurt. When she hits a certain age, it hurts. But usually it's around 50. She becomes invisible. That's the saying in society. I think we need to change it to, no, we're being ignored. We are being actively ignored. We are not causing ourselves to become invisible. It's not something we are doing. It's what society is putting on us. They are ignoring us, and that's wrong.
As cruel as it may sound, it is not society that's ignoring women who become invisible. It's nature. And nature doesn't ask for permission to be kind or fair. It simply moves forward without apology. When a woman begins to notice that the stares are gone, the compliments stop and the attention fades. It's not because people suddenly became cold. It's because the world keeps turning and biology doesn't cling to what once was. The reality is, once a woman's beauty starts to fade and she no longer receives the same attention she once did, that's not to say she no longer has value, but the type of value changes. The world doesn't stop to reassure you when your prime years pass. And the brutal truth is, the same society that once praised your looks won't chase after you when you're no longer seen as desirable. It's not society abandoning women, it's the illusion of perpetual attention fading away.
As you all know, I'm 50 and single. So I'm actually going on a date today with somebody that I've been talking to. The dating life at 50 is strange, and especially when you haven't dated in a billion years. We've been getting along, but time will tell.
Things I wish I knew before becoming a... You gotta keep this lifestyle on the down low, because it just gets weird when you have kids the same age as the people you're dating. It's just a little weird. If your son has friends about the age of the guys you date, they will find you. Okay, for instance, I'm 50 and the last one I had was 25 and my sons are 30 and 24. Make sure when you're in yoga classes with other moms your age, make sure that you're not dating any of their sons.
So I saw a TikTok the other day from a woman who had just hit her 40s and she feels like she has become invisible since doing that. And she hates it. She has spent her life being beautiful and seen. Now, here's the thing. I look at this video and I see this woman and I think she is still utterly beautiful. But this is her own perception. And maybe compared to the 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds, she's not got as much attention as she has always had. Now, I'm finding the same thing and loving it. I love the freedom of not having to care about what anyone else thinks. I want to become invisible. I don't want any male attention or female. I want to do things for me. I'm wearing the jewellery I want to wear. I'm wearing the hats that I want to wear. The clothing. I am buying things as a newly single woman in my house for me that I love, and I don't care what anyone else thinks. So I would say if you are starting to feel like you're in your 40s, you're invisible, embrace it. You can do whatever the hell you want without worrying about what anyone else thinks.
First of all, this is cope. You could have already done those things. Find yourself, live for you, while you were in your 20s, 30s and beyond. You didn't need to be older to do that. Now suddenly it's all about doing it for yourself. That's not empowerment. That's adjusting to a new reality where the attention is gone. I get it. Many women are trying to find ways to deal with becoming invisible. But let's not pretend this would have been their response if they were still being chased, complimented, and worshipped. It's too easy now to say, I don't want any attention anymore, when the truth is, the attention already left. Women don't just wake up one day wanting to be low-key and free-spirited. That shift comes when the stares stop, when the compliments dry up, when men no longer look at them the way they used to. That's when the narrative changes from I'm desired to I don't need to be desired.
Let me tell you the first time I felt invisible. So there I was, Monaco, fancy restaurant. I dressed well, on Australian standards at least, waiting for service, and waiting, and waiting. I wasn't being ignored because I looked like a tourist. I was being ignored because I wasn't chic enough. Society glorifies you. You see it in movies, in boardrooms, in the workplace. Women, especially professionals and high-achieving ones, are taught to serve first, shine later. Except later never comes.
I'm seeing this narrative go around social media a lot where only 80% of women want the top 20% of men or something like that.
Right. I have also seen that. So what about that is a fallacy? Because it certainly seems, based on everything that we've seen, that 80% of the women do in fact want 20% of those top-tier high-value men.
What I have to say about that is you need to ask yourself, why is there so few high-value men?
That's a very good question. But I think the first question that we really need to ask is what actually constitutes a high-value man? Because that answer can vary widely from one person to the next. But the consensus that I have seen, unfortunately just on social media, usually has to do with a man and his ability to be a provider. But is there more to it than how much a man makes? Yes, occasionally someone will mention how tall a man is, or what their physical body type is like. But that does not necessarily make a man high value just by how much money he makes. So what exactly is a high value man?
So many women on TikTok are trying to deny that 80% of them are chasing after the same 20% of men. They say, that's not true, over and over again, like repeating it enough will somehow make it false. But the proof is right in front of us. They don't give the good guy a chance. They overlook the guy who would actually treat them right. They keep saying they want someone kind, loyal, and respectful, but their actions show otherwise. They ignore the nice guy. They call him boring. They label him as too available or not exciting enough. Meanwhile, they stay getting their hearts broken by the same type of guy over and over again. The player, the emotionally unavailable guy, the one who treats them like an option. And then they hop on social media crying about how there's no good men left. So what exactly about that isn't true? It's not that good men don't exist, it's that they're invisible to women chasing a fantasy.
Somebody out there, some girl out there is feeling very invisible right now, like you are doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, and you know that you're doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, but nobody's noticing, nobody's taking to effect the things that you need to have happen in your life in order to get where you need to go. You are seen, you are heard. Know that. God sees you, God hears your cries for help, God knows what you're going through. Understand that His ways are not your ways, and sure enough, you're going to see why you had to wait.
Feeling invisible after 40? Are you making this mistake? So one of the most common statements I hear from my clients is that they instantly felt invisible when they turned 40. Like they woke up the next day and they felt like society had turned their back on them. So firstly, let me say yes, ageism definitely exists. No one is denying that. But does that mean that we sit back and let the pain of invisibility consume us for the rest of our lives? No. The biggest mistake I see women in their 40s make that contributes and exacerbates that feeling of being invisible and ignored is that they are looking externally for validation.
Well, I will agree. The reason some of these women feel invisible and ignored is because at the core of it, they were chasing validation. Not necessarily on purpose, but it became part of their identity. They were used to compliments. They were used to attention. They were used to men being all over them, offering them the world just for existing. And now they find themselves in a reality where that constant validation is no longer there, and they're being forced to adjust. It's not just about missing the attention, it's about no longer feeling seen. And for a woman who spent years being told she was beautiful, desirable, the center of every room, that silence is loud. It messes with the self-worth. Because for so long, their value felt tied to how others responded to them, especially men. Now, they're learning to live without it, learning to exist without the flirty glances, the free drinks, the endless DMS. And it's a hard pill to swallow, because no one ever told them that the attention has an expiration date, and that when it fades, the world keeps moving without you.
I always wonder if we're starting to feel invisible because we're making ourselves invisible. Maybe there's a little bit of confidence loss as we age, and so we sort of shelter ourselves away a little more than we used to. I really think it's on us to keep showing up and engaging in the world by joining things, by staying proactive. As much as I wish people would be calling me every day and knocking at my door, I know that I have to do outreach too, to just stay engaged socially, to keep working, to stay relevant. I think I'm starting to realize that that's on us.
Being 42 and single can be hard, especially on a Sunday. And I've never noticed this. Anything in the morning I'm fine with. Going for a walk, going to a matinee with all the other weirdos. I love that. I love that time. But the moment it hits noon, I saw this today when I felt like, okay, I need to get out of the house. I need to do something for myself and I'm going to go for a walk. And all I see are couples with their dogs. And I play this sick game where I just avoid humans. And if you see my map, walking, every time I switch the street side is because I'm avoiding humans. It's almost like brunch time is over and you're just supposed to be with people. Otherwise you're this lone loser and it reminds you that you don't have anybody to share your life with. And yes, I could technically make plans, do something with friends, but sometimes you do want to have that significant other.
Did you hear that? It's called realization, and it's something many modern women will eventually have to come to terms with, whether they want to or not. What this woman is realizing, at 42, single, and a self-proclaimed loner, is the true importance of a relationship. This is her dating journey at 42. She mentions she avoids humans, not because she hates people, but because everywhere she looks, all she sees are couples. What she's really saying is, it's hard to be around what you secretly long for but can't seem to find. This dating life right here is exactly where many single, independent women will find themselves. Single at 40, maybe even 45, looking back and quietly wishing they had made better choices, wishing they hadn't pushed away the good men, wishing they hadn't spent their prime years. Dating at this stage isn't glamorous. It's exhausting. The pool is smaller, the intentions are unclear, and the emotional scars from years of failed situationships, casual flings, and broken trust linger.
At what age did you start to feel invisible? Kind of happens, doesn't it? For me, it was when I kind of reached peak perimenopause, and you have that sudden realization that you've probably just had your last period. and you wake up and you see a few more lines on the face and you see a few more greys in your hair, and you just don't feel the same, and you feel a bit rubbish most of the time.
I divorced my high school sweetheart after 5 years of marriage and 4 babies, and I recently started dating. And let me tell you something that I've noticed we do. Myself and several of my friends have gotten out of either marriages or long-term relationships that were abusive, either physically, emotionally, verbally, toxic. Maybe the partner didn't hold their weight, whatever. I'm not just speaking to my experience. And I've noticed something, that we start dating and we meet someone and they're doing the bare minimum and we think it's everything.
This is another narrative that's just getting old. Like, how the f*** does it take you 5 years, but not only 5 years, okay, you're kind of dumb, you're naive, you don't know any better, but 4 children? So he was toxic and abusive and all of these things for 5 years, and you still decided to pop out 4 children with him. Like, make that make sense. Like, is it one of those situations where you think that a baby is going to make the relationship better? But then what gets me is you literally tell on yourselves, because then you say you have a bunch of friends that are going through the same thing or have been through the same thing. And what do you think that is? Y'all are in each other's ears talking about how miserable you all are. One person will say, oh, my husband's manipulative. So what does that do? You start to think, oh, maybe my husband is manipulative too. So you start seeing him as a liar, a cheater, doesn't tell the truth, is a horrible person, because all of your friends are also in your ear. But not only that, is your friends, once they become single, will then make you think that the grass is greener on the other side. So you all end up divorced, miserable, and unhappy, supposedly because of a toxic relationship. If it's so damn toxic, then why did you have 4 children? Why didn't you stop at 1 child? Because you knew long before you had baby 2, 3, and 4 that he was toxic. And then you all get online and talk about the bare minimum this and the bare minimum that, and the dating scene sucks. But what have you actually done to heal yourself other than break up your family and talk shit on the internet? Like, really? And the funny thing about it is you're going to actually expect somebody else who's not the father of your children to take on 4 kids willingly. Like, what delusional world are y'all living in? And if he has kids of his own, guess what? You end up with like fucking 6 kids. Like, it's just freaking wild to continuously come on the internet and talk about how abusive somebody is when you chose to have 4 children with him. You have friends that are divorced and miserable, and y'all are doing the same shit expecting a different result. Okay, bye.
This is just another example of a woman who doesn't know how to take accountability. If the man was really abusive, why would you stay with him for 5 long years? And not only stay, but have 4 children by him? That doesn't add up. If the marriage was that horrible, if he was so toxic, so damaging, why didn't you leave sooner? Because the truth is, deep down, it wasn't all bad when it was convenient. When the bills were being paid, when the lifestyle was comfortable, when things were manageable, she stayed. She tolerated it. She accepted it. But now that it's over, suddenly he was the villain the whole time. Suddenly, it was a nightmare from day one. That's not just dishonest. It's rewriting history to avoid responsibility for her own choices. No one's saying bad relationships don't exist. But what we're seeing more and more is women trying to paint themselves as victims in situations where they had agency, they had power, they had choices. And they chose to stay, chose to keep having kids, chose to keep the cycle going. And now that things didn't go their way, they want to shift all the blame to the man.